Hi, and welcome to KF6012 Web Application Integration. This is an introductory lecture. My name is John Rooksby. I'm the module tutor for this module, and the other picture is of Kay Rogage, who will be teaching the module with me. This is a year-long module, which means it will be split over 2 semesters. There'll be 2 hours a week for this module, plus you should be putting time in for personal study. The assessment of this module is 100% coursework, and this coursework will be given out at the start of semester 2 and should be handed in at the end of semester 2. Just because the coursework is in semester 2, please don't think that you can just sit back and relax during this semester. All the work that I'll be giving you during this semester will be relevant to that coursework. These are the aims of the module. You can read through these in your own time. They're also in the module descriptor. So the name of the module is Web Application Integration. By web application, we are talking about websites, but ones that are interactive and not static, ones that have the ability to display and organize large amounts of complex information. These sorts of websites are not made up of individually hand-coded HTML or PHP files. Often these websites do not reload the whole page every time you click on them as well. Parts of them will be interactive. Therefore, these sorts of web applications are somewhat different to the kinds you've been building so far at university. The integration in the title of the module in web application integration, we use that to refer to architecture and for integrating different architectural components. Web applications are rarely just one single code base stored on one single server. Here is a schematic diagram for one web application. It's for a service called the CATS API. This is something that we'll be using in one of the tasks today. This is a fairly sort of complicated architecture here, but something that I want you to take particular note of is the division of this into a client app. So at the top you can see the catapi.com, which is written in a JavaScript framework called Vue.js. And so that will handle all the UI things, all the things that you'll be able to see in the browser. But behind that, there is a server side as well. For the Cat API, the server-side code is written in Node.js, which is another JavaScript framework. For this module, we'll be using object-oriented PHP for the server side. So last year, for the coursework, the students built a movies web application. This application displayed movie information. The application could be searched and browsed, and logged in users could use the application to save notes about movies. Students implemented this web application using server-side code written in object-oriented PHP, using an SQLite database, using client-side code written in AngularJS, which is a JavaScript framework, and they set up communication between the client side and the server side via an API that used JSON. So last year, this is the distributions of grades we had on the module. A lot of people did very well, getting a first class or a 2-1, which is very good. But also a number of people at the other end did not pass the module. This is something that we're taking steps to reduce this year. We don't want this sort of big division in grades. We still want people to do well, but we want to set the module up so that the people that did not do so well last year perhaps can have different ways in which they can do better on the module. I'll be talking about some of the changes we'll make to address that failure rate later in the slides. This module builds upon work that you would have done in previous years. I know not everyone has been at Northumbria for the level 4 and level 5 modules, or perhaps you came through a slightly different route. But for most of you, you would have taken a module called KF 4009 Web Tech, on which you learned HTML, CSS, and PHP. And then many of you would have gone on to do a module called KF 5002 Web Programming, in which you built upon that previous work using more PHP, some more advanced PHP that time, and using JavaScript as well. We'll be building upon those technologies, but also the concepts that you've built up in those previous courses. In your first and second years, you would have also have done things like object-oriented programming, perhaps using Java. You would have also used UML, and while there'll be no actual UML on this course, it ties in very much with object-oriented philosophies and ideas in software engineering and software architecture. Don't worry, if you've not covered everything mentioned on the previous slides, there'll be the opportunity to catch up, and don't worry if you've forgotten everything over the summer. It's okay, there'll be lots of time to get back up to speed, but you must take action on getting back up to speed. You can talk to the module tutor if you haven't done the modules KF 4009 Web Tech or KF 5002 Web Programming before, and we can talk about what skills you might have gained from other modules or what you need to catch up on. This module is part of the web track. It's of course open to lots of people to do, so you might not all be on that track. But there is another module on the web track as well that this module has some relationship with. That is the Cloud API course, KF6013. You do not need to take that other module in order to do this one or to understand this one. But I think quite a few of you are doing both, and these complement each other nicely. These modules will be talking about some similar concepts, but using some slightly different programming languages and coming up with these in slightly different ways. One of the key things on this module is that we'll be building an API, whereas on the Cloud API module, you'll be using third-party APIs. So how to do well in this module? Well, the most important thing is to submit the coursework. This module is marked 100% from the coursework, so make sure you get that in at the end of semester 2. Make sure you also read the instructions carefully on the coursework when it's handed out. It will be handed out in semester 2. However, you should put time in now into the module. You have much less time in semester 2 than you think. You will have other deadlines. A major deadline that you will have in semester 2 is for your individual project as well. And the deadline for this module will be in the similar sort of time zone to that one as well. So don't wait until the coursework is released before deciding, what to spend time on, or before really thinking in depth about this module. Everything that we're teaching in the weekly workshops will be relevant to the coursework. This year we've made a number of improvements to the module over last year. This is following feedback from last year and following what I showed you on a previous slide about some people doing very well, but also some people not doing very well at all on the module. So to address that, we've reduced the emphasis on advanced programming in the module. By that, I don't mean that there'll be less programming. And by that, I don't mean that people that are really good and confident with object-oriented programming won't be able to sort of really fly with that on the module. But the mark scheme in the coursework will not place such a great emphasis on being able to use object-oriented patterns. We will focus a bit more on design, documentations and things like that, so we can raise that bottom line in the module without hurting the top line, without sort of discouraging people from doing really well. Next week, I'll be giving you access to the previous year's coursework assignments so you can have a good look through that, and so that will give you some ideas about what to expect this year. We will be making some changes to the format of the coursework this year, but last year's coursework will give you a pretty good clue about what it's all about. On this module, we can also negotiate a suitable submission deadline for the coursework. I just need to set this deadline sort of towards the end of semester 2, so we can have a chat then about when a good deadline for this coursework would be, given that by then I think you'll know when your deadlines for things like the individual projects are and for the group projects and other things you'll have on. So we've been improving the module over last year. We'd like to carry on improving the module. Partly we can improve the module as we go, so I can respond to any feedback you give me during the module to make improvements for this year. But your feedback will also be very helpful for making improvements for next year as well. I want to sort of take a continual approach to feedback with this module. So please do let me know what you enjoy on this module, what you don't enjoy, what you find useful or not very useful. It's helpful to know why you're doing the course as well. I mean, I know for a lot of you this is an optional module. And I'd also like to know from you how well this module fits in with your other modules. I think sometimes you as students have a much better sense of the coherency of your courses than me as someone that delivers individual modules does. I'll be providing feedback sheets in the sessions, and you can also email me feedback, give me feedback face to face, or relay feedback in whatever way you think is appropriate. The feedback can be anonymous if you'd like that. So why study for another year of web development and web programming? You've done this at level 4 and level 5 already. Well, if you stopped at level 5, I mean, I think you would be very employable. You'd be someone that is able to build websites, certainly to do some front-end programming, using technologies such as JavaScript, HTML, some PHP, and so on. And with those skills, you can get a pretty nice web developer job. Here's one that I pulled up the other day from Indeed, which is, in the mid-20s, not a bad salary at all. But if you carry on learning, you sort of raise your ambitions with web developers, the kinds of jobs you can go for are often better paid. If you start looking at jobs that are for what's called full stack developers, you'll find that these people are better paid than website developers. On Indeed, I did a search here, not for full stack, but just for AngularJS, which is one of the JavaScript frameworks we're interested in. In the description for this job, you can see that they want someone that uses, a range of technologies, has the ability to manage a range of technologies from the front end to the back end. And for people with this large range of skills and an appreciation of software architecture, the salary and the responsibilities of the work do go up. So the schedule for the module, well, it's split over 2 semesters. This week we'll be looking at architecture, which is a fundamental concept for the module. Next week we'll be looking at environments and tools and workflows that we'll be using in the module. We'll then have a couple of weeks thinking about design on the module. There's a slightly increased emphasis this year on design, front-end design. In week 5 we'll have a supported self-study session. That means there'll be no new material, but that Kay and I will be available to support you if you've got any questions. So please do come along to the lab then if you wish. From weeks 6 to 8 there, we start looking at object-oriented PHP. This is a really important part of the module and one of the tougher parts of the module perhaps to get your head around. So they're all very important that you keep up with them. And following that, in weeks 9 to 11, I should say, we build upon our object-oriented PHP skills to look at building things like APIs and to look at security and privacy issues. The final week, week 12 of this semester, will be another self-supported self-study session. Next semester, we'll be looking at single-page application development using a JavaScript framework. In week 3, the assignment will be handed out. And then in week 12, the assignment will be submitted. As I said earlier, we'll be able to negotiate the exact deadline, but it will be around week 12. There's plenty of time next semester for supported self-study. That means you can come to the labs and Kay and I will be there to help you, but you can get on with work at your own speed. During those sessions, we will not be able to give you direct help with the coursework, but we can give you direct advice on any of the workshop materials that we've given out so far. So that's everything that I wanted to introduce about the module. My name is John Rooksby, I'm the module tutor, and there's my email address, which is always the best way to contact me.